As parents search for a plan to educate their kids this fall, a plan that works for them and not just for their local public school system, one state leader is reminding low and middle income parents that they have a scholarship opportunity if they want their child to attend a private school. Dr. Terry Stoops is Vice President for Research. He's also the Director of Education Studies at the John Locke Foundation. He took notice at this news release because it's an issue that he has been writing about and following very closely. Terry, welcome back to the program.
Thank you.
Senate Leader Phil Berger, who's a Republican out of Rockingham County, issued this news release just a few days ago. It really raises the alarm about at-risk kids and the potential for virtual learning to really leave them out.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And thank goodness we have an opportunity scholarship program in the first place so that our low-income kids can have access to private schools. And that's needed now more than ever in an environment where a lot of the school districts in North Carolina and charter schools are migrating to full-time remote learning plans. The numbers keep changing on that, but around 30% of school districts, around 15% of charter schools have adopted full-time remote learning plans. And that encompasses around 40% of the students in the state, and I suspect that's going to increase even more. So the opportunities for kids to go to a school that has in-person learning is diminishing every day. And so to have something like the Opportunity Scholarship available to kids that would be in untenable positions when a full-time remote learning plan is absolutely essential.
Tell us a little bit more about the Opportunity Scholarship. Who qualifies and how does it work?
The Opportunity Scholarship Program is targeted toward low-income households. So we're looking at households. I believe that the very top threshold is around $65,000 for a family of four. And that's household income, not just individual income. And those students are only eligible for 90% of the $4,200 scholarship that's offered through the Opportunity Scholarship. So this is a minimal amount of money. It doesn't cover all the costs of a private school, but it's enough that thousands of families every year sign up for the Opportunity Scholarship so that they can have at least most of the tuition at a private school covered. And they're not attending the expensive private schools that a lot of people think of when they think of a private school, the Ravenscroft or Asheville school. They're attending mainly faith-based, small private schools that have tuition around $6,000 or $7,000 a year. So they do have skin in the game. And they are also accessing scholarships that are offered by the schools themselves.
And we know over the past several years, by looking at the people who have applied for and received the Opportunity Scholarship, that this has turned out to be a lifeline for some families who either find that the traditional public school and public classroom isn't working for their child, or families where you have an unusual situation. You might have a grandparent in the position of being the legal guardian and caring for a child and wanting to make sure that that child has the very best opportunity possible. So it really is a lifeline for all sorts of reasons. Yet, Terry, we know in our state that there are some elected officials, some lawmakers who don't like this at all, and they're pushing to get rid of it.
Definitely, and there are plenty of lawmakers that don't like the Opportunity Scholarship, and they say that money should only go to public schools. And, of course, our governor is the biggest opponent of the Opportunity Scholarship Program. He has come out on many occasions saying that he wants to get rid of those vouchers, and he wants to phase out the Opportunity Scholarship Program. In fact, he's proposed budgets that would do just that would allow no new students to come into the program. That's the kind of dislike that a lot of Democrats, especially of the more liberal wing, have toward the Opportunity Scholarship Program. Now, it's not universal by any means. There are Democratic support for the Opportunity Scholarship Program, recognizing that first, one size fits all is a poor way to educate kids, but more than anything, that we're talking about low income, mostly ethnic and racial minority children that would ordinarily not have access to a private school if not for the Opportunity Scholarship Program.
Terry, you used an interesting phrase, one size fits all. And we've talked a lot about that here on Carolina Journal Radio. And you, as the education expert, have written so much about the need to give parents options to empower them to be able to choose whatever environment works best for their family, for their child. As we head towards the fall school year, you mentioned that a number of local school districts are now choosing to go online only, at least in the beginning. And you've written a really compelling piece available at carolinajournal.com that talks about the kids who will be left behind with this one-size-fits-all online environment. And one of the categories that you mention is a category that we have a lot of in our state and in our country, and that is single parents trying to take care of kids.
That's right. When you look in North Carolina at households and you look at how many are led by a single mother or single father, it's around 30% of households with children are led by a single father or a single mother. And in fact, if you even look deeper at the statistics, the percentage of households that are led by a single father is increasing significantly, and I believe it's the highest that it's ever been. So consider the plight of these parents that are now faced with the prospect of a district or a charter school going to full-time remote learning. How does that parent navigate that environment if they have to go to work and they're looking at having to either allow their child to be supervised by someone else or find some alternative arrangement for them? Unfortunately, there aren't a whole lot of opportunities to find alternative arrangements. We're only about 3 weeks before the beginning of the school year, so being able to access a charter school would be difficult at this point. That parent could choose to homeschool, but that's kind of difficult if they're the sole breadwinner of the family. So things like the Opportunity Scholarship and private schools, and really the goodwill and philanthropy of those organizations, civic organizations, churches, and others that are trying to fill the void, makes it extremely difficult on that segment, among many other segments of the population, to be able to navigate this new educational environment.
Terry, what about homeless kids? I mean, they will be completely left out of this.
And no one's talking about homeless kids. And in the piece, I give a shout out to Brenda Berg because Brenda has been really at the forefront of talking about what's going to happen with homeless students if they are in a school district that has decided to go with a full-time remote learning plan. She's the one that's really bringing that up, and no one else is really talking about it. And so state education leaders really need to start talking about these populations, the ones that are really at a disadvantage here of the decision of school boards to go to a full-time remote plan.